got to be at our best. And I like it that the conditions are tough. We want to see who can really focus when it's tough. But we are going to be a tough team, you understand that?
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
For signing day 2016 for the UND football team. Welcome inside the High Performance Center. I'm Matt Schull, your host here today for the Signing Day Live presented by UND Insider Weekly. What we'll have for you here today, we'll have all the UND coaches on set. We'll be asking them questions, and you can ask them questions as well. We'll ask them right along as we present this to you live on UNDsports.com and UND Insider. You can tweet us at UND Insider. The hashtag is UND Signing Day Live, or also you can ask your questions below in the chat box on UNDsports.com. But first, we're going to take a look back at the 2015 highlights. A 7-4 year, wins over Wyoming, Portland State. Certainly a great year for North Dakota football as we take a look back at UND.
Real simple plan. Focus on the field, and we've got to play with more heart and greater effort than the opponent. That's all we're asking today. Focus on the field, nothing gets into us, and play with greater effort and greater focus than our opponent.
Rolling right, looks over the middle, complete. Luke Stanley will take it. 10-5, touchdown. Goes to his right into the end zone. Touchdown, Luke Stanley. 10 UND.
Deep back in the eye. They'll give it to him. Stutter step, and then he just jaunts right in.
Now pitches to the right side. The ball is fumbled, and North Dakota has the ball at the 32-yard line.
Ryan Labatt on that pitch.
Another unbalanced heaviness on the left side. They fake the handoff to Georges and give to Santiago through the hole on the left side. One man chasing him. He won't get him. So long, Santiago. 81 yards for the touchdown. The handoff. Santiago right side has a big hole. 30, 35. He may be gone. He's past everybody. Goodbye. Another John Santiago touchdown. 75 yards. Santiago can't find room up the middle. He breaks free on the right side. He'll run in for a touchdown. Here's the snap. Studs will give to Santiago, this time right side. Nobody touches him. In for the touchdown. Hand off to Santiago, trying to turn the corner on the right side. He's got row 40, 35, 30, 25. Down the sideline. Will he make it? Yes! Touchdown, Santiago! Studsrud, who goes back to pass, looking, throwing deep over the middle, has Georges at the 30. He's going to outrun the defensive back and score. Clive Georges gives North Dakota a 20-0 lead. Martles under center, 3 receivers bunched to the right and 1 wide left. There's the snap. Hand off to Santiago, big hole up the middle. He's at the 30. Breaking away. Goodbye. Santiago will take it 80 yards for a North Dakota touchdown. Wow. No, they fake. It's a pass to the end zone, and it is caught for a touchdown. There's the handoff to Santiago. Has a hole on the right side, 40, 35, 30. Heading to the far sideline. He's in for the touchdown. Back to pass. Throws left. Complete to Georges at the 15. Slips away from a tackle, and he goes in for the touchdown. Left, it's intercepted by North Dakota's Brian Labatt, and he'll take it all the way for a touchdown. North Dakota off to a quick 6-0 lead. They give to the tailback, Oliveira, hole up the middle, 20, 15, skips the tackle, he's in for the touchdown. On the delay, Norberg has room on the right side, at the 5, in for the touchdown. Takes the handoff now. Charging ahead is Studsrud, breaking through the line. He's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. Right to left. Takes the handoff. Krukov takes it. He won't get in. Tried the left side. And Rattel is there to stop him.
All right, great job, guys. Great team win. But the team that plays tougher wins the game in the end. You understand that? That's how
A great senior class, but today we look forward to the future, 2016. What can you say about this overall signing class?
Well, it was for us maybe a little bit more of a normal year. Finally, we were able to do a good job of building relationships in the spring. Had a number of these guys up to campus, not only for official visits this winter, but also in the summer for our camp. So you know, it was what I would say more routine than it was our first two seasons here.
A couple guys that we'll talk about here with you. DeJohn Murray, one guy who's already on campus, but certainly a guy that you think can make an impact right away.
Yeah, you know, obviously losing Will Rattel at the inside backer position, that was something that we knew that we wanted to go that could maybe place be a piece of the puzzle in the fall. DeJohn's been on campus now for about a month. He's done a good job for us, so really looking forward to getting him started. And the good thing with him is he'll get 15 practices in the spring here to be able to learn our stuff. So it'll be exciting to see where he fits in the puzzle here leading into the fall.
Another guy that you can talk about who's already been signed is inside linebacker Cam Hunt from Indiana. Talk about what you think he can bring to this signing class.
Real athletic guy, plays at Carmel High School in Indianapolis, which is you know, probably one of the top programs in the Midwest. They produce guys year in and year out. They'll have a huge signing day deal today. I don't know how many of his teammates are signing at other programs, but there's a lot of them. They had a great year this year, made a deep run into the playoffs. He's a guy, once again, we identified in the spring. We're in his high school. At that time, he came up with his dad for our camp in the summer. We offered him at that time. He committed and stuck with us throughout the entire process. So really, really happy to get Cam. I think, you know, for most of these guys, as coaches come and sit down, we really feel good about not only the kid, but the relationship we have with his entire family and a group of advisors, those people. So Cam will play inside backer for us. He'll probably play the weak side spot, and look forward to you know, getting him on campus and getting him started this summer.
The defense overall made a number of improvements last year, certainly one of the top ones in the Big Sky. What do you think about this 2016 class? What were you looking for from a defensive whole perspective? What are some guys and some things that you did well, you think, this year for the recruiting class?
Well, I think number one, you know, if you looked at our roster last year, we really got beat up in the secondary, and our league is definitely not void of good receivers and good quarterbacks. So we felt that it was really important for us to be able to get better in the secondary, to be able to get deeper in the secondary and add to our roster there. So I think the number one thing that our fans will see in our signing class is that we were able to sign 6 DBs, 3 corners and 3 safeties, and that was a real need for us. And we think we got some bigger, athletic guys that can match up better with some of the top league or some of the top offenses and top receivers, you know, in our league. So that was the emphasis. You know, we'll get those guys on campus now, and they'll have an opportunity to show, you know, our staff and the rest of our team, you know, just you know, what they're all about. But that was probably the number one thing for us in our class, was that we wanted to go heavy in the DB world, and we wanted to improve our roster there, not only the top end of it, but also just the overall depth, that if you do have injuries at those positions, that you have another guy there that's ready, and you know, there's not a drop off from the 1s to the 2s.
Question from Roberto on the live chat: with the loss of Rattel, who do you project filling in at the strong side linebacker, inside linebacker?
Well, we think we have a number of guys. You know, the one thing that happened last year with you know, the loss of Taj Rich, which you know, obviously hurts. He had started every game, you know, since our staff had been there. But then we got to play a number of other guys. You know, Connor O'Brien played over 250 snaps. He played a lot more than that, actually. He played over 500 snaps. Dylan Bacher played over 250 snaps for us last year. So those 2 guys got a ton of experience. Jake Hansen played some there as well later on in the year. So, you know, we got some guys now that we have a sample on. And Connor made a number of plays for us. He was probably in our top 5 as far as tackles, and Bacher, Dylan playing those last handful of games, had a few really big games as well. And then, you know, Donnell Rogers will have an opportunity. DeJon Murray, like we talked about, will have an opportunity. We really think that, you know, we're going to probably end up playing 4 or 5 guys in a typical game, and we think we have 6 guys right now that are battling out for those reps. So, so yeah, you know, it's definitely an area of concern. I think that's why you bring in a guy like DeJon Murray and try to add to the competition of the group. But we have guys that are capable, and I think anytime you lose a guy to Will's status, I think the next guy in line is really, really hungry to prove that, hey, I can be the next Will Rattel.
For sure. One final question for you from Rats on the live chat: any athletes out of Mandan this year?
You know, we didn't get anybody out of Mandan right now, but you know, I think, you know, overall the state of North Dakota, we were able to get 4 guys and feel pretty good as far as the guys that we got. But we're always going to start in the state and work out. You know what I mean? We really feel strongly that if there's a young man in the state that can help us, that has the ability to be able to play at our level, then we're going to do our best to get him in North Dakota.
All right, that's defensive coordinator Eric Schmidt. We'll be back just after one moment. Paul Rudolph, the offensive coordinator, is coming up next here on UND Insider Weekly's Signing Day Live. If you're just joining us, it's UND Insider Weekly's Signing Day Live. I'm Matt Schill, joined by offensive coordinator Paul Rudolph. And Paul, welcome to our broadcast. We're going to talk a little bit about the offensive side of things. So overall for recruiting day, how did things, do you think, work out for you? And just talk a little bit about your offensive recruiting philosophy this year.
Well, you know, we're always going to try to find big guys and them offensive linemen. And I think we, you know, for the most part, fit the bill we were looking for, and tried to get enough of them, and tried to get quality and good students, guys that are going to learn, be able to learn and adjust. And so I feel pretty good about that. You know, obviously time will tell, but the other spot is, you know, we use them tight ends and fullbacks, and you know, we were able to go out and get a couple of those guys that both have skill and talent, and very good academic guys, and guys that we think are going to be able to learn and really develop. You know, picked up a couple of wideouts that both have good size and jumping ability and good hand-eye skills, and you know, same thing at quarterback, a young man that is a winner. And you know, I think the other thing that is all those guys are involved in more than one thing. I mean, they're very multi-talented. They're from the choir to the FBLA and DECA to multi-sports, and they're very active in their community, and they're very active in their school, and we really think they're going to come in and be good football players and good student athletes at the University of North Dakota.
Let's talk about a couple of those guys on the offensive side. You mentioned it first, the quarterback from Minot, Ben Belinsky. Just talk about what he brings and what kind of caught your eye about him.
Well, kind of the things that I've mentioned. I mean, Ben's he's a winner. He's been in the state championship game 2 years in a row now in football. He's been in the state championship game in basketball. He's part of a group in their nationally acclaimed one of their choir deals or a duet deal or whatever it is. And I mean, he's done a lot of good things. I think his ceiling is still high throwing the football. I think we can get him a little better in just all the different aspects, but he shows the skill set to go out and play, and he really wanted to play at the Division I level, and we thought it was a good fit, or we believe it's a good fit.
The only quarterback you brought in this class, do you feel confident with him, or is that just sort of the way you guys wanted to approach the recruiting this year with quarterback?
Well, both. We're very confident. We think that he's the guy that can come in and give us some reps. He's going to be accurate throwing the football. We think he's still going to continue to get better throwing the football. We think he's got the brain and the mindset to be able to play and do the things that we ask him to do and how he wants to learn. It's important to him. Yeah, we do. We think he's the guy, the quarterback that can come in and challenge and progress through the system.
Another guy that we'll talk about, another North Dakota guy, Hunter Pinky, tight end. What do you think he brings, and sort of what caught your eye about Hunter?
Well, I don't know, I mean, it sounds like a broken record, but really a bunch of the same things. I mean, he's a football. He goes from football to basketball to track, baseball, active in 4-H, he's active in just about everything there is at South Border High School and in the community. Even the young man stays busy. And then after that, he's also an extremely good athlete, a guy that can catch the ball with his hands. He's got real good size. And we think he's going to just continue to get better and bigger and stronger, and think we can get him a little faster. Same thing, great academic guy. He's going to learn. He's going to know how we want things done and what we want this way and that way. And playing at the University of North Dakota was important to him. And we're excited about Hunter. I think he's a good athlete that's going to really progress and become a good football player for us.
Last year you got a couple of guys that stepped in right away as freshmen. Do you kind of project any of this year's class to be able to step in and make a difference for you this next fall?
Well, I mean, obviously the rest of the winter and spring and the summer obviously will tell us more after that. But, we tell all of our guys that we think that you should come in and you should be ready to play and come in and be ready to work, and then let the chips fall where they may and see where you were at and see who can help us and what you bring to the table, and how if there's a skill set or a role that we can fit you in that's going to help our football team be better in 2016, then we're going to utilize that.
A reminder to fans that you can also submit your questions in the live chat below, or also you can tweet us at UND Insider, hashtag UND Signing Day Live, and we'll answer those questions on the air. For you, Paul, just talk about the offensive recruiting and just sort of what do you kind of see, any of these guys that can make a difference in the next few years, where do you sort of see and project a lot of these players fitting in?
Well, we'll start with the skill guys, if you will. You look at Isaiah Seacrest, and he's fast. I mean, he can really run. He can get out and go. He's one of the faster young men in the state of Wisconsin, and really you can picture him against one of the faster guys in the Midwest. He can catch the football. He can run the football. He's very dynamic, returning kicks. We think that Isaiah has a bright future, and maybe one of those guys that fits into one of them roles early on in his career. He was the running back of the deal, and then you got Travis and Noah as far as the wide receivers, and they're both, Travis is probably a little thicker. They're both those guys that are 6'3", 6'3.5", and they both have great ball skills, hand-eye coordination, and very multi-talented. Noah is going to be a guy that was a nationally punt, pass, and kick guy in football competition, and very skilled catching the football. And if you go watch him play basketball, I mean, he's one of the prolific scorers in the state of North Dakota. The guy can flat out score. He can move and do things, and we think that when you watch skills in different sports, there's things that you think those guys can really do for you. And we're excited for Noah. And then you take Travis and you go watch him in Red Wing and play basketball and do all those things. He's very similar. He's probably just a little bigger, thicker, but I think Travis has a very bright future. back to Noah, I think he's going to place in probably 3 events at the state track meet this spring. So those guys, they bring a lot to the table. When you see 3 sport guys and 2 sport and 4 sport guys like that, what they do when you get here is they keep improving. I mean, there's a big ceiling on those guys, and we like what we got there. I've talked about Benny and I've talked about Hunter, and Alex Cloyd's a young man who was hotly contested tight end out of Omaha. He's 41-0 in wrestling right now, 39 pins. I mean, that's what you call a guy going out and dominating that 220-pound weight class. And same thing, he's very gifted. He catches the football extremely well. And we think we're going to have to teach him some things blocking-wise. But when you take a guy who's pinned 39 guys and we feel like that's a skill set that he's going to pick up on rather quickly, And then them O-linemen, I mean, we think it's a good mixture of tall guys, and there's a few guys in there that are really strong, and there's some length, and might take them a little longer to develop, but we believe there's a good mix in there.
All right, Offensive Coordinator Paul Rudolph, we want to thank you. Joining us here on Signing Day Live, fans, we'll have Sean Kostic, Special Teams Coordinator and Tight Ends Coach, coming up next. Welcome back inside UND's High Performance Center here on the campus of University of North Dakota. You're watching Signing Day Live 2016. Joining us here is Sean Kostic, the Special Teams Coordinator and Tight Ends Coach. And Sean, just first give an overall sort of impression or your thoughts sort of how this 2016 class came together.
Well, it's we just got the official word via message that all NLIs are now in, so it's nice first and foremost to have no surprises. That's the one thing you don't want to have today, but I think with this class we worked to improve a couple depth issues that we had, mostly at O-line and defensive back, so we filled that out pretty nicely, and you see a lot more guys in that area than anything else.
For special teams wise, I mean, you're going to be seeing a lot of these guys early on, and you may get them as freshmen, sophomores, and sort of as they progress. Anyone that stands out that could make an immediate special teams impact?
Correct. Well, that's where I bring up the defensive backs, because I think the last place you ever want to be shy in a program is the secondary. Those guys probably do the most for you in terms of covering kicks, doing all the blocking stuff on special teams, probably more than any other group. So you want to have a lot of good depth. So I think as somebody who's young and wants to get their feet wet in terms of starting a new program, special teams is the best way to get on the field, because maybe you're not playing 70 plays at your position, but you could go all 4 phases in your first year, similar to what Tyus Carter had did before he started playing, and just guys like that. So I think that's a good path to follow.
You also coach the tight ends. One guy that we'll talk about here with you is someone that offensive coordinator Paul Rudolph just talked about, Alex Cloyd.
Correct.
Sounds like certainly an athletic person, that not only for football but a wrestling star, and someone that can make a difference for you.
He is. He's a very accomplished wrestler. It's my understanding he's 51-0 this year, and I may be off just a little bit number-wise, but very, very good wrestler. We found Alex there's a camp in Ames, Iowa, and we went there afterwards, and I'll never forget, the smoke kind of cleared, and he did such a good job catching the ball and running around that day, and you look and no one's really talking to him. I just couldn't believe it. And he had such a special skill set, and he also comes from a good family. We got to know them over the course of a period of time. His dad works at a college nearby in Nebraska, and his mom came up during the summer and brought him to camp, and he was lights out performance-wise, and we always felt athletically, he's going to give us something that we really need to upgrade in terms of, we got good blockers, good physical guys, but we have to improve ourselves in the pass game. That's where we feel like we can help out.
He's a guy maybe recruiting too that you won over. Is a battle as of late?
There's no question, and it was something that went down to the wire. I think a lot of credit needs to be given to Coach Rudolph and Coach Schweigert for making multiple trips out to Omaha to see him. But this was a battle that went to the very end, because you have good players when other schools are still interested in your guys. That's always been our bearing, is if no one's ever talking to your players, you kind of worry like, hey, what's going on? But he's somebody that had a lot of attention, and we really had to fight to keep him here, and we're so glad that he chose us, because he's going to help this team tremendously.
Two other guys we'll talk about with you are from your recruiting area in the Twin Cities, both from Edina that we'll talk about. The first offensive lineman, Bennett Helgren. What does he bring to the program?
Bennett Helgren was one of, when we talked about the O-lineman that we wanted to recruit for this class, we made a big importance of feet and length. And Bennett is all of 6'6", he's 290 pounds, and he moves his feet pretty well for a guy that's his size. He was traditionally a basketball player, now getting more into football. And we saw him do a little workout at Edina, and there was a lot of coaches in attendance that day. And he's a guy that, in terms of a developmental body and what you want in the O-line, that's what you're looking for. A guy that's really long, to move his feet, because when you have length, that's hard to get around you. You can create leverage, and there's just so much potential for development, and that's what we think he brings.
Another guy, his teammate Evan Holm, is going to come in as a cornerback for you guys.
Yeah, Evan's another special kid. He ran the fastest recorded time that we've ever had at our camp. Somewhere I believe it was 4.38, and it was almost like a blur just coming by. And we always knew he could run coming into it. But he's going to help us in terms of where I'm excited about him is the special teams component. I'm excited to see what he can do as a returner and do a lot of those things. And he's one of those ones you're talking about now when you say, hey, defensive backs need to contribute early. He's one that we're already coaching up on the front end and hey, get ready to do this. And he's been very loyal to us. I will say that too, because I know how much attention he's been getting from other schools, and he was the first Minneapolis player to commit to us during the summer and never wavered on that thing. Through all the schools that came in on him, he stayed loyal to us, and we really appreciate that.
It seems like the Twin Cities area has certainly become more of a focal point, in the last few years than maybe 5 to 10 years ago. Do you think that's true, or are more guys coming from that area or is the talent just developing there?
I would say with the 3 years we've been there, you're looking at about 6 to 7 each year, and I think that's really what it's got to be if you want to build up a program in this area of the country. You can't be flying all over. You have to, stay true to the local areas around you. And there's a lot of good FCS football talent in Minneapolis area and the surrounding suburbs. So we will always have a good presence there. It's been good to us. And the other thing is all those kids can drive to camp. You can get live evaluations on them. We're only a little over 4 hours away. So when you can get live evaluations on players, that's the number one thing that we prize. And it's very important to get those. And the area's been good to us, there's no question. You look at our starting quarterback, starting D-end, left tackle, kicker, all the way down, there's a lot of players contributing to UND from that area, so it's been very important.
All right, Sean Kostic, thank you for joining us. Next up, we will have Luke Knopf joining us, offensive line coach. So we'll talk a little offensive line coming up next here on UND Insider Weekly's Signing Day Live.
All right.
Welcome back inside UND's High Performance Center here on the campus of the University of North Dakota. It's Signing Day Live here on UNDsports.com, presented by UND Insider Weekly. I'm Matt Schill. Joining with me now is offensive line coach Luke Knopf. And Luke, overall, for the offensive line, you guys have graduated some guys, one All-American graduated. You have some holes that you'll need to fill, it seems like. What do you see from this 2016 class that can come in and add some depth for you?
Yep, we got some big guys, and then we got some guys that can kind of fill the middle for us. And, we got Bennett Helgren, he's 6'6", about 290. Noah Martelli's 6'5", about 260 right now. He's gaining weight. We got some other guys in that class that I think will definitely be in the mix to play inside. And, we got Sean Russo, also a big 6'6" kid. He's about 300 pounds. And, we got some size, and now we got to get that moving around. And then the guys inside, we got to get going too, so.
It seems like when I look at this, maybe it's the guy coaching or recruiting, but a lot of Wisconsin offensive linemen, a lot of Midwest offensive linemen coming into the UND next year.
Yeah, great kids from the Midwest. They're tough. They've seen snow. That's the main thing. You want to recruit kids that are hard hat, lunch pail type guys, and I think that's key.
And maybe a few other Colorado guys too, following in the footsteps of Chris Cooper or some traditional UND linemen coming from Colorado areas.
Correct.
So let's talk about some of them. From Noah Mortel, offensive line from Luck, Wisconsin. What do you know? Talk to us a little bit about him and what does he bring?
Yeah, he's good size. He's all 6'5". He's got long arms. He's about 260 right now. He's starting to gain weight. He's in the process. We want him, whatever he can handle, we like him at that. Good basketball player, just scored his 1,000th point in Luck basketball history. The other night he also threw it down that game, so that was big time. You know, but he's a good player, great kid, great family. Got to meet all the family when I was there. It was just like when I was in high school, that was like my family, so it kind of felt back home.
How about Sean Russo, another one of those Colorado guys from Highlands Ranch?
Yep, Sean's a great kid. Got to meet him actually when he was working out down at 6-0 Strength, and it was good to watch those guys, and it was you know, just to watch him and then meet him and then watch him practice at Highlands Ranch, and just to get to know him as a person, his mom on the visit, and you know, he's going to be definitely an asset. He's a big, long arm guy. I mean, he's a big dude. He's wide, you know, and he moves his feet pretty well, and we just got to keep working on him to put muscle on now.
Third guy for you, Muskego, Wisconsin native Ryan Tobin.
Yeah, Ryan Tobin. I mean, you know, he's one of those guys. He's not the biggest guy. You know, he's probably about 6'3.5", maybe 6'4", about 280 pounds. But this guy, he's flat out, he's nasty, and he can play. He's kind of one of those silent guys that just doesn't say much. Let me get the job done, and you know, those are the kind of guys we like. You know, that's the main thing. We want guys that love football on the O-line, that can move their feet and play and be a little nasty doing it and bend. And but Ryan is definitely getting to know him and his mom and his dad at a home visit. You know, he loves baseball too. You know, he's a good baseball player. Plays baseball all summer, but he definitely is the nasty you want.
Is there anything that you guys look for in an offensive lineman when you're recruiting? I mean, do you look for, is there a certain height, strength, you know, a lot of multi-sport athletes, it seems like, athletic ability? What do you sort of look for in offensive linemen?
You know, the one thing we look at is athleticism. That's a big one for us. How do they bend? How their feet move? Do they finish through contact? You know, then you look at tackles, what kind of guys you want. You want those big, long arm guys that really make it easy for you on the edge, and then you want those. You also want some bit of nastiness in there too. It just depends. You know, there's a different style of kids, and you know, like Bennett's quiet, Ryan's quiet, Sean's quiet, Noah's relatively quiet. You know, those guys are. Even Nate Nguyen, he's a relatively quiet guy. Those are the kind of guys you want, because you don't know exactly. You know what you're going to get every day, but you don't know what to expect because their ceiling is so high.
Quiet now, but maybe once they get in that offensive line room with all you guys together, I'm sure it's quite. It'll be quite the personality room in there.
Oh yeah. Our room is definitely interesting every year, and it's a great room. You know, I graduated 4 guys. Well, graduated 3 guys, and it was a great room. You know, we had 1 All-American, 3 All-Conference guys, and they're definitely gonna be hard to replace. But I think it's our room will definitely come around and you know, get it done.
Final question. It seemed like the offensive line last year kind of gelled as things went along. How do you try to build that now with these incoming guys, and what you look to do next year?
You know, it's all about camaraderie and getting guys together and doing things together. You have to be able to do things as a group, function as a group. Everything we do is as a group. If somebody messes up, we're in here running as a group. If we're in here at 9 a.m., all the guys are in here as a group. But we have to do things as a group to get those guys to gel together. And that's the hard part, but it's also the easy part because they like each other, which always helps. So,
one of the benefits of this place is they can come in early in the morning and work out together. That's
right.
That's Luke Knopf. I want to thank him for joining us here on our Signing Day Live. Next up, Danny Freund. We'll be talking wide receivers coming up next here on UNDsports.com and UND Insider. Welcome back here on the University of North Dakota's campus. We are inside the High Performance Center, the new $20 million facility here on the campus of UND. I'm joined by wide receivers coach, UND alum Danny Freund. Danny, overall this recruiting class, what are your thoughts on the 2016 commitments?
I think it's a very solid class, guys that we've been recruiting for quite some time, going back to last spring, but very athletic group. They come from really good families. A lot of them are guys that play 2 or 3 sports in high school. Just a good, solid group. You know, we're excited about their ability on the field and the quality of kids that we're bringing in as well.
The one thing that keeps coming up today is the overall athleticism. Seems like a lot of guys play multiple sports. A lot of guys can do multiple things. I mean, do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I think that's really a big big factor when it comes to recruiting is seeing guys play other sports. There's a lot of skills that translate, I think, especially from sports like basketball, track, even baseball in terms of ball skills. But the more opportunities that they have to compete in things outside of football, I think it translates and develops that competitive mentality. And then just, I think it's a good, solid group of kids that really want to be at UND and feel like this is a special place.
You recruit southern Wisconsin area from your neck of the woods, actually.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about what that area brings, sort of some things that you've seen and sort of some stories from the recruiting trail, sort of what you've seen in some of these guys that are coming in?
Yeah, you know, it's Coach Knopf does northern Wisconsin. I do southern Wisconsin, you know, and there's a lot of good quality kids down in that state. Wisconsin's the big one, but after that, there's not a lot of FCS teams or Division II. There's really no other football. So there's good quality talent down there, and guys that want to play at the Division I level that might not be able to be a scholarship guy at Wisconsin. It's a special, you know, it's a special state. It's a really important state for us because, you know, we want guys from Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Midwest is where we're going to get the core of our recruiting class, and those are the guys that, you know, understand what it's like to be up here, have a really good work ethic, Midwest work ethic, and, you know, we feel like those are the guys that we're going to win championships with.
We'll talk about two wide receivers adding to your group here. The first one, Travis Toivonen, wide receiver from Red Wing, Minnesota. Talk about what he brings.
Travis is another kid that plays multiple sports, plays basketball, tennis, led the state of Minnesota in receiving this past fall. Came to our summer camp. That's when we first got a great look at him and really dominated in one-on-ones. Really impressive athleticism for how big the kid is. I mean, he's 6'3", 6'4", 205 pounds. Really good basketball player. His dad is the head basketball coach of the school, and they're actually #1 in the state right now.
Oh, wow.
Or #2, but they're undefeated. So I've been down to watch about 3 or 4 of his games, and great family, almost a 4.0 student, but just can really go up and attack the football. We like big receivers, but he's a big receiver that can run, that can really create mismatches for us on offense, and we're excited to add Travis.
Another receiver is another basketball player from Jamestown, Noah Wanzik. Talk about him.
Noah is a kid that we also had at our summer camp, but it was July, and he was making some catches that were unbelievable, where we didn't really have him on the radar as much until all of a sudden he kind of came out of at that camp, really did some good things. So we went and watched him play basketball as well. Really good leaper, long kid, very athletic. I think his best football is ahead of him. He actually, he punts as well, so he went to the punt, pass, and kick when he was 15 and got like second nationally, so he can really throw it. The first thing I noticed when I shook his hand a couple weeks ago was how big his hands are. So he's a guy that can really dunk the ball easily on the court, and that we feel like that translates to the wide receiver position when you give, even if they're not going to run by people, which he can run and he'll get faster, but he can out jump people and high point the football and really put a lot of stress on defensive backs. And the other thing we look for in terms of these receivers is how tough are they? Are they going to block? Are they going to be good teammates? And that is, these two we got coming in are just unbelievable kids, work their butts off, really good families, and their athletic talent is just only going to increase as they get into our program and do football year-round. So,
big question for fans always is, do you think that they can make an impact right away, or I mean, will they take a year? I mean, you have some redshirt freshmen last year that are going to be coming in too.
Yeah, we've got about 11 or 12 guys in the group right now. We finished the year with Josh Seibel, Luke Stanley, Clive Georges. Really had some momentum going there, but after those three, there's some battles that are going to have to be won here in spring ball and fall camp. You know, Travis physically is probably a little bit further ahead than Noah right now, but both have great size, great athleticism, and we play the best guys. The guys that are going to help the team win and are best for the team, that's what we're going to do. So really excited to see them compete. I think they like to compete. They like to get after us. So that's what we want.
All right, Coach, that's Danny Freund joining us here on Signing Day Live. Next up, Jordan Geely. Stick around and we'll talk to defensive line coming up next. Welcome back to UND Insider Weekly's Signing Day Live here on UNDsports.com. Another coach is with me. It's Jordan Geely, the defensive line coach here in the High Performance Center. And Jordan, we're talking defensive line, but no defensive line signings today. Can you talk a little bit about the philosophy there and sort of what you guys are looking for
Sure.
in
Sure.
this class?
This class, we had some other areas of need that we wanted to address. We signed 6 last year, which was a very big class, and we redshirted 5 of those guys. So not only are we excited about who we have returning, but some of these young guys are redshirted. We felt there were other areas we needed to target. So we're excited about what we got coming back up front. So that was it's good to be in that situation.
You certainly were active in the recruiting trail. You do the Chicago, Indianapolis, and Indiana areas. A couple guys that we can talk about from there. Andre Randolph, cornerback from Indianapolis. Talk a little bit about what he brings and what you like about him.
Sure. Andre's a kid we had our eye on for quite some time. He's a quarterback this year. He didn't play any defense. He was a straight option quarterback, and that tells us a lot about what the high school coaches think about him, to have him man the offense, to put the ball in his hands. So he's a fantastic athlete, has played defense in the past, track guy, baseball guy. So another multi-sport athlete that we feel athletically can come in here and compete at corner pretty early. And he was a kid that's turned down a couple FBS offers, had 2 offers from FBS, and came here and fell in love with it, and we fell in love with him, and he's a great grades, great kid, great family, so excited to have him.
When you see a guy like that that's a quarterback, I mean, how do you maybe make the offer to play defense, or what's that transition like, or sort of what's the thought process there from the coaching standpoint?
Well, playing defense is you see the athleticism when he's playing option quarterback. He had almost 2,000 all-purpose yards, had played defense in the past. You like to see that leadership and his feet and his hips, and he's got all 3 of those characteristics that we're looking for in the Big Sky. There's a lot of good quarterbacks and receivers, and defensive back was obviously a big area for us that we wanted to target here this offseason.
Another guy, I think we're looking at the highlights now, safety, Tim Ryan from Huntley, Illinois. Talk a little bit about, we'll see his highlights here now. Talk a little bit about Tim and what you like from him.
Sure. Tim was a kid, was an early commit for us this summer. We had offered him in the spring, and he came up to our camp, and out of over 250 some kids at our one-day camps, he had the fastest 40 time out of all of them. So that's saying something, at about almost a 6-foot kid that can run. And then we got, the good thing about our summer camps is you get to see these kids compete. And when he was in drills, one-on-one wide receiver DB drills, he competed as hard as anybody else we had. And with that 40 time and his athletic ability and leadership qualities, we thought we got a steal on our hands early.
When you see these kids come up to the Grand Forks, I mean, from those areas, it's not the closest area. I mean, not the Minneapolis, whatever. So it must take some dedication from them in order to want to be here. They do have that drive. I mean, can you talk a little bit about recruiting kids from those areas?
Sure. When you start getting farther away, you're talking 10, 12, 13 hours away, and you get into the Chicago and Indiana areas. For these kids to make trips up on their own dime in the summer, that, to us, that shows a high level of interest. And obviously we want kids that want to be fighting Hawks, so it's really a double-edged sword that we love the fact that they come up. We're interested. They're showing us how interested they are, because you're driving or flying over a lot of schools to come see us. So that means a lot, and to be able to hold on to these kids commit-wise is important. And but that's big. If you make that trip up on your own dime, that far away, there's usually a pretty good interest level.
You're also the camp director.
Sure.
Fans or prospective student athletes can register at undsports.com/camps. Talk about how important it is to get kids on campus. They see the facilities, they meet you guys. You have the ability to, get the eye test on them. How important are those camps for your recruiting process?
Invaluable. They are invaluable to get the kids on our campus and to see them in person. So we get to see them physically, mentally, what they can handle, but then they also get to see our campus, see our community, our facilities here with the new HPC. But and I'll talk about stats tonight. Over 80% of our signing class came to UND at our summer camp, which is extraordinary high. It's one of the highest numbers I've seen. Last year, I think we were about 57%. This year, it's over 80. The kids that made it here this summer that ended up signing with us today. So that should tell people right away these camps are very, very important to us, and for us to get an eye on them to make our evaluations.
The old adage is, once you come to UND campus, I mean, you fall in love with it, and certainly it's a lot easier to sell it. One of those reasons is because of this building we're in right now, the UND High Performance Center. Next up, we're going to take a look a little bit about this building and what makes it so special, and nearly $20 million worth of privately invested dollars to make a difference here on the UND campus.
has a real wow factor. You know, I think you get a lot of people just staring at the ceiling and the surrounding, and just, you don't realize how massive the building is until you get inside.
The wow factor is there. People come in, and our alumni, they're excited for us. Our athletes are excited. They get on this track and they get amped up and they run fast. Because, I mean, it's a great surface, and then just having a place that's this amazing and this expansive is a huge positive.
It's amazing. You know, you know, you see things on paper and you understand what you think you're visualizing, but until you actually get in and they started digging a hole in the ground, and you see how big that is, and then you realize this thing is going to be unbelievable for our student athletes and our coaches.
We're the only track on the planet that has the Super X surface plus inlaid lane lines. All the markings on this track, all the lane lines, all the markings, all the hurdle marks, they're inlaid track surface. They're not painted. This track will never have to be painted. There's no other track on the planet that has the whole suite of technology that we have.
So we have a place that we can add different drills, add different type of workouts. You know, our strength and conditioning staff will make good use of the space. We have a football field where our guys can come in on their own time. Receivers, quarterbacks, throw the football, and we know that's so important for them to be on the same page and develop that chemistry. Same thing with defensive backs, you know, defending deep balls. We're able to do that stuff at more times throughout the year.
We really can train like we need to, not like we're able to. So what it means is we can help our athletes develop and reach their potential in ways that we never could before. This is the opportunity that anything that we can think of to do when we need to do it, we can. So this is a game changer, nothing short of it. Plus, on top of that, being able to host events and hold meets here, it's invaluable. This is probably the best thing to happen to UND track and field in anyone's recent memory.
It's been a long, long time coming, and we're very, very pleased that we were able to, with a lot of help, with a lot of great partnerships and a lot of great contributions from businesses and individuals, alumni and friends of the program, to get this done, because it has to be done with all private support. There's no state dollars in this facility, so that was an important challenge that had to be met, and we got that first step done.
It's a special time, you know, because our vision is to move our program to the top of the big sky. And once you do that, you're in the national tournament. And when you're in the tournament, you have a chance to be FCS national champions. And this building really will help us realize that dream.
Welcome back here inside the UND High Performance Center. You just got to look at why this building is so important. That's phase one of this building, just the turf, the track, everything about it just makes so much of a difference. And you can donate to phase two of this project at UNDsports.com. Joining with me is Joel Schrentzfeier, outside linebackers coach, as we continue on with our signing day live. And Joel, this 2016 class, just give an overall outlook, what you see and what you like about these commitments.
This is going to be kind of a big class for us in terms of building depth for us, especially on the defensive side of things. And we signed 2 outside linebackers here that we'll talk about, and then added a lot of skill guys in the defensive secondary that will be big for us. You know, spot a need there in safety and corner for us, and got a lot of guys with a lot of length and a lot of athleticism. You'll see in their highlights that we're really excited about. You know, this is kind of a really big class for us in that terms, where we can really bring a lot of kids in here that can push and maybe even play early with their skill sets.
Let's take a look at some of those highlights. Jackson Turner, the first one, outside linebacker from Esco, Minnesota. Talk a little bit about Jackson.
Well, Jackson's a kid that we were really high on after his junior year, and we got him to come to our one-day camp, which was really big, so we got to see him in person and get a live evaluation on him. And he's a really athletic kid. You'll see on his highlights he's playing a lot of running back and even some receiver, and had a really, really successful, senior year here. He rushed for a ton of yards and touchdowns, and featured as a receiver as well, and returned punts and kicks. Just a really, really good athlete. Long kid. He's 6'2", 200-pound kid, but he's a kid that we're projecting at outside backer a little bit. He played safety in high school, but those are the things that we value at that position, is kids that are rangy and will grow into their body and mature.
We're watching a lot of offensive highlights. Do you like a guy that plays the offense in high school?
Yeah, we love the fact that he plays with the ball in his hands. That's something that we value with the kids, especially in high school. Obviously, you want kids that are playmakers for them and make a lot of plays for them. You know, you see him even here returning a punt. He's got a punt return that was featured on Max Preps as the #3 punt return of the year in all of high school football, which is a pretty cool deal for him. It goes to show what type of athlete he is.
Next up, Ray Haas, outside linebacker from Centennial, Colorado. What do you like about him?
Ray, now he's the same thing. He's a big weapon. He's a really large kid. He's 6'5". He's a long, tall kid that's really kind of coming into his own, especially his senior year here. Another kid that we had rated high after his junior film, and then didn't get to see him in camp. Obviously, being from Colorado, it's a little more difficult, but after watching his senior film, we got really excited about the possibilities that Ray could bring to the table. He's a defensive player of the year in his conference. He had 7 interceptions at safety. Had a lot of big touchdowns on offense, playing like a hybrid wide receiver tight end position. Same thing, projecting him at outside backer, where he could probably really grow into his own and probably add 20, 30 pounds once he gets into a college weight program. And really excited with the potential that he brings.
That position for you guys, I mean, sometimes you'll have your hand down, sometimes you're dropping in coverage. I mean, it's got to be a pretty versatile one for your defense.
Yeah, it really is. We ask them to do a lot of different things, from playing on a tight end to rushing the quarterback to playing man-to-man on a slot receiver, and so they're doing a lot of different things in a variety of different roles. So they got to be probably your most versatile athletes on the field, maybe, other than safety. That's a position that you got to be, talented in many different directions.
Final guy for you, Jake Geyer, safety from Andover, Minnesota. What about Jake stood out to you guys?
Jake was a kid that we knew was a good player coming in. He came to our camp this summer where he tested out of the water. Same thing, phenomenal athlete. Ran, jumped, did everything we asked him. Probably one of the best athletes we had on campus at our camps this summer. He's a kid that here too, you'll see him playing a lot of receiver and running back. He played on a really talented Andover team that made the state quarterfinals. Same thing, really big kid that's well put together. Probably gonna start him out as a safety, but he's a kid that's big enough and probably strong enough to could even play outside linebacker for us down the road. Phenomenal athlete. Jake's a great athlete, really strong kid that's pretty well put together already at a young age, so we're really excited about Jake.
The one thing you mentioned, it seems like depth is a key thing. This 2016 class will add some of that athleticism and depth right away.
Yeah, that's what we really needed to develop. When we had a couple injuries last year, we really kind of got exposed at positions that we didn't have the depth, and so this will be a big class to fill those needs. And having a lot of guys that could play multiple positions allows us to even slide kids around too. That gives you a little freedom to add depth at a lot of positions.
All right, Joel, thanks for the comments. That's UND outside linebackers coach and alum Joel Schwensfire. Next up, recruiting coordinator and running back coach Kevin Maurice. Next, here on UND's Insider Weekly's Signing Day Live. Welcome back here on the University of North Dakota campus. It's UND Insider Weekly's Signing Day Live inside the HBC. I'm Matt Schill, joined with running back coach and recruiting coordinator Kevin Maurice. Kevin, can you just give an overall view of this class and sort of what you guys were looking for in the 2016 commitment class?
Well, overall, we just wanted to fill in all the voids that we had in our, our recruiting class and our team, with our seniors graduating. So offensive line, we made an emphasis on that. We lost a couple seniors. And then, we had a pretty good group of running backs, but we always felt like we could always add a new addition to the stable, per se. And then had to revamp the wide receiver group a little bit, and then defensively, we wanted to make sure we replace somebody in like a Will Rattel, and then also defensive back wise. I mean, we had some voids there, and then we wanted to revamp that defensive backfield too.
When you think of this 2016 class, what stands out, or what's maybe one word that you think of when you think of this class?
Athleticism. From the linemen that we brought in to the skill position guys that we brought in. Our guys this year, out of the 3 years I've been here, or 3 recruiting classes I've been a part of, this is probably the most athletic recruiting class I've been a part of since I've been here at UND.
We have heard that quite a bit, and a lot of adding depth. It seems like a lot of these guys can fill in, maybe not next year, but in the next 2 years they can add some depth for your roster.
Correct, and that's all projection. And I believe just the way we've been running our program, everybody will get an opportunity to showcase their abilities during summer practice and then for the play in the fall. But I think we have a good enough program where we feel like prospective the student athletes that sign with us this year, if they're not ready to contribute this year, we got a good enough program where they can get the ground running the following years after they redshirt, after they develop, going through our weight room program with Coach Bockel. He does such a good job. I mean, you should see guys that came in from the past years, and you should see how they develop now. It's amazing. It's an amazing process.
Fans can still ask questions on our chat below on UNDsports.com or tweet UND Insider with the hashtag UND Signing Day Live. Kevin, a couple guys we'll be talking about. You mentioned running back Isaiah Seacrest from Rice Lake, Wisconsin. What do you like about Isaiah?
Isaiah Seacrest, one thing about me when I evaluate running backs, I always like to reference NFL running backs. So if I were to compare him to NFL running back, I would compare him to Devontae Freeman, for the Atlanta Falcons, or Clinton Portis, good friend of mine from Miami, Florida, played for the Hurricanes and Washington Redskins and Denver Broncos. Isaiah does a really good job catching the football out of the backfield. Very slippery out of the backfield, and he runs a 10.8, 10.9, so when he gets in the open field, it's a guaranteed score. And one of the main qualities that I saw in Isaiah is, he knows that we have some pretty good running backs in our roster right now, but he's not afraid to compete. And he's unselfish, and I think he'll be a great fit for our offensive backfield.
So yeah, you mentioned it, with such young running backs, guys that played as true freshmen last year. What's that recruiting process like when you're trying to attract other running backs, and what do you like about Isaiah and wanting to be here at UND?
What I look for is guys who want to uphold the standard. We started 2 years ago with Jared Garman, then with John Santiago, Brady Oliveira, and when we're recruiting running backs, we don't necessarily want them to think that, hey, just because we have other running backs here who've been successful, you're not going to get an opportunity to play. If you come in here and you do all the right things and you engage, you're going to get an opportunity to play. However, you got to come in with the right attitude, and you got to be able to compete, from day in and day out. And that's what we saw at Isaiah. I mean, he was not afraid of, the competition that he's probably face, when he gets here. And actually, he told me that it's going to make him better. And with that, I mean, the sky's the limit. And that's the type of attitude, that's the type of person that we want here at UND.
Another guy we're going to talk about, you're going to have to help me with his last name. Nate, offensive lineman from Egan, Minnesota.
Yeah,
How do you say his last name? Nate Nguyen.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about Nate and what you like about him.
Nate is a guy that we offered late in the recruiting cycle. However, I think it worked out perfectly for us because, we had a need at offensive line, and he's got a pretty good story. Nate Nguyen is his dad is from Cambodia, and when he received that offer late from us, he was very grateful. And the kid has got amazing upside in terms of the versatility, athleticism that we talked about. He could probably play center, guard, or tackle. He's got great bend, and then his strength is unbelievable. It's impeccable. And he's a guy that probably come in, make a contribution, or a guy that can redshirt and probably go through our cycle, weight room cycle, or nutrition cycle, and the sky's the limit for that kid. And he's my dark horse, to tell you the truth.
Sounds like a great story. Hopefully he'll continue to make that progress here at UND. One question we always get from fans, recruiting's never done for you guys. Do you foresee anything after spring or this summer bringing in a drop down or from the FBS level or transfer? Do you guys foresee any of that, or do you pretty much think you're set right now with where you're at?
You know what? After signing day is over, and after this day is over, and the coming days, me and Bubba and the staff will talk about some of the voids that we have within our team, and we'll probably entertain the notion of bringing in transfers, but that's something for me and the head coach and the coordinators to discuss in the coming days here. But in terms of futuristically recruiting, we already started on 2017, and so we plan to orchestrate or entertain some junior days all throughout the spring and then leading into the summer to continue the recruiting cycle. And then one thing that's helped us over the past 3 years is the camps that we have here hosted in our campus here. And with this beautiful indoor facility, we're going to hold camps here, and then that's our crown jewel right now here at UND, and can't wait to show what our 2017-18 prospects some of what we have to offer here at UND.
It is amazing just being in here today. I mean, guys practicing. We saw a little feature on it earlier. Certainly, this is a difference maker when it comes to UND football.
Absolutely.
All right, Kevin Maurice, thanks for joining us here on Signing Day Live. Next, we'll have defensive assistant Carl Reinhold.
Yeah,
Stick
thanks
with
for
us.
having me.
Of course. Philip Moore, one of the UND football greats, as we look to sign more here in 2016. Welcome back inside the High Performance Center. I'm Matt Schill, joined by Carl Reinhold, defensive assistant. Carl, welcome to our broadcast.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about this 2016 class. What do you like overall about this group?
Well, I think overall, as probably everybody before me said, that we're starting to get to the body types of guys that we really want, big, long, fast, athletic kids that we're looking for, that we think can take us to the next level in the Big Sky. Defensively, we bring in a lot of speed, a lot of length, and that helps. And Big Sky's not a big run league, so we're going against receivers that are pretty good every week. So we're excited about those guys coming in and being able to help us from that standpoint.
Let's talk a little bit about some guys here. A little bit of a variety. We'll start first with Brett Finke, fullback from Muskego, Wisconsin.
Yeah, Brett. We're excited for him. He kind of came in late with us. Him and Ryan Tobin went to high school together. They played baseball together, so we like that, the teammate thing. And Brett's gonna play fullback for us. And kind of the way we do things offensively is we're gonna use the fullback a lot. And then one sometimes, two sometimes, the next play sometimes even three. So we're excited about what he can do. He's a hard hitting. He's a hard-nosed kid. And, he's gotten bigger since we started recruiting. He's gotten thicker. You can really see it in his face and his shoulders. And we're excited about what he can do for us coming out. So
you're a defensive guy, but what stands out to you about him, especially on the offensive side?
Well, just the ability that he had to make plays in high school. He wasn't a true fullback in high school. He carried the ball quite a bit, and so. Offensively, we like those guys that can do a little bit of everything, but fullback's probably where we're going to stick him, just because that's kind of, with his abilities and his talents, that's where we see him fitting in. So, but no, we're excited about him. I think he's got a big upside for his career here.
Next up, offensive lineman Devin Hunt from Edina, Minnesota. What stands out to you about Devin?
Well, Devin, he's got a lot of things going for him. He's a really good student, for one. He's going to go into engineering here. We're fired up about that. Comes from a really good family. He's a homecoming king in school. He's a very well-liked kid. He's a wrestler, a pretty successful wrestler down there outside the cities, and so we like those. We like wrestlers a lot because they compete one-on-one with guys on a regular basis. So having him in the O-line with us, that's what we're looking for. And he's another big, strong kid, and he lifts weights a lot in his free time when he can. And so those are qualities that we like to have in guys, that we're excited about.
How about the third guy on your list, inside linebacker Jake Rostas from New Berlin, Wisconsin?
Yeah, Jake. It's another. All three of these guys that we're talking about here, they're high school teammates here. Him and Jordan Kennedy played together in high school. Jake's grandpa, played for the Badgers, so he comes from a football background, and we're excited about him. He's another, like I talked about earlier, with the length, the body type. He's 6'1" and about 175 right now, and he's a good-looking kid coming as a freshman. So we're excited to put some weight on him and see what he can do. You see on his highlights, he makes a lot of plays, sideline to sideline. That shows that he can, go slow to fast and fast to slow, and make plays in space. So that's one thing that we really liked about Jake.
looking at that outside linebacker position, I mean, you guys do need versatility, right? They're dropping back, sometimes they're rushing. I mean, do you think he's a guy that can make plays like that?
Yeah, we think we like to think that all of our guys, that bring in defensively can make plays like that. We like to play, with our two safeties, and we have our two outside backers, which are basically safeties for us. And Jake's a kid that we kind of mold around whether he was going to be an inside guy or an outside guy, but he's we'll probably start him at inside, and and especially with with the inside backer position that we have, he's going to have to make a lot of our calls and our checks. So. He's got to be a smart kid. He's got to be smart on the field, and so that's kind of like being a safety too. So you get a lot of crossover there with the safety and the linebacker positions.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us here on Signing Day Live. Next up, we're going to hear from soccer. It's also their signing day. I spoke with Matt Kellogg earlier, and he will talk about his 2016 signing class up next. Welcome to UND Insider Weekly Special Signing Day Live Edition. I'm here with soccer coach Matt Kellogg. And Matt, big day here for you. Just talk a little bit overall about your thoughts on your 2016 signing class.
We're ecstatic about this class. It's going to be another step forward for us. We're bringing in 7 players at this point right now, and every single one of them we've been able to watch over the past really about 2 years and really get to know them on the field as players and off the field as people. And we really think that they're going to be able to plug into very specific needs that we have. We're looking for some of them to challenge right away for playing time, but all of them are going to fit a specific need that we have, and we think that they're going to fit in with our culture. We've really turned the corner since we've gotten here 3 years ago, and we're really excited about where this group's at, and this 2016 class is just going to help take us to that next level and really compete for the Big Sky Championship.
You talk about your third class overall. How is that sort of affected now as you kind of continue to improve each year? How have these classes continued to get stronger? And we saw a lot of freshmen play last year, and once those players continue to develop and mix in with these players, how do you think that'll kind of mix?
Well, it's interesting because every year when you do better and better and you show improvement, and the players today with the internet and social media, they know what teams are doing. They know that we're progressing and we're moving forward. So with every class, you almost have to start from scratch because you have a whole new group that you're now looking at, because we were here and now we're here. And with that comes different recruits. We're recruiting more nationally than we have been. We have kids from Southern California, the West Coast, even Southeast. So it's allowing us to reach a different type of player. And the nice thing is these kids coming in the 16 class is that they're really coming into a more solidified culture. Our 15 class and for sure our 14 class, our culture was really in a state of flux, and the kids now know exactly what they're coming into. They aren't part of a change so much as they're just part of reaffirming and cementing that culture even more. So I think it's probably a little bit easier for these kids, I think, to transition into this group because they know exactly what they're getting into. I can remember when our 14 kids were in on their visits before signing day, that culture was here, and when they showed up on the first day for preseason, the culture was over here. So it's kind of, they saw this and they joined this. Whereas the kids nowadays, for us, they're seeing this and they're joining this and they're helping to that evolve, ever so slightly, but there aren't these huge jumps that these kids are having to get used to in the culture.
To someone that maybe hasn't followed your program, what would you tell them about this 16 class compared to kind of where you have been and where you're going?
Well, I think early on, Steph Webb, my assistant, and I, it was almost a shotgun effect. We had so many needs to fill right away. It was like taking a shotgun out there and just spreading the shot, and you're probably going to find a player that's going to be able to help you. Well, as our players have developed in the program and we've taken those steps forward, we're now almost taking, almost a single shot. Our our target is much smaller, much more detailed. We don't need just a great player. We need, a great player in this part of the field or that part of the field. The other thing that's helped us is that we've really gotten to know the conference top to bottom. Now we've played it 3 years, so we know what's going to work well in our conference. We've gotten to know different recruiting areas, which clubs produce great players that are going to work in our culture, which produce great players that will work well in somebody else's culture. So it's a much more narrow view of what our recruiting needs are. Which is good, but it's also dangerous too, because now you're looking for very specific things, and if you don't find it, you got to do it in another class.
Well, it's a good position to be in, I think, and especially as you continue forward. All right, Matt, thanks for joining us here on our signing day special. We wish you the best of luck, and thanks for following here on UNDsports.com. Welcome back inside the UND High Performance Center. We heard a little bit about soccer, but now it's back to football. Our newest assistant coach, Travis Steps, joins us. And Travis, you're so new, you actually just came out of a new employee meeting, right?
Exactly. Ran over here, hoping to be on time, and I was, so it was good.
So first thing, I guess, just introduce yourself to the fans. Maybe what a little bit about yourself and what they might expect from your style and everything that you bring here to UND.
Right. I'll be coaching defensive backs here at UND. Most recently leaving Carbondale, Southern Illinois University, and before that I was at Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas, and played for Pittsburgh State. So that's kind of my coaching history, I guess you would say, and then excited to be back here with a couple coaches that I know and get to work here at UND. So
yeah, you're pretty familiar. You played in 2001 in the Alara Center, playing for Pittsburgh State. You've coached with Bubba for 6 years and Coach Schmidt, and certainly UND fans know Dale Lennon, who you worked under. Talk a little bit about this 2016 class. What do you like about it here at UND?
Most excited about the defensive back class. That's what I paid attention to the most. When I got here, they already had their class pretty much set. A lot of guys committed, and so all we had to do was just keep them committed, and we were able to do that for the most part. And I think we got some athletic guys in the back end that will add some depth to what we already have here, and I'm figuring out what we have here in the back end, but looking forward to all those pieces coming together and being strong in the secondary.
Let's talk a little bit about a couple of those cornerbacks. Jordan Kennedy, actually a safety from New Berlin, Wisconsin. Talk a little bit about what you like from him.
I like his athleticism and I like his demeanor. I was able to see him play basketball, and that was a treat. He has a quiet confidence, real smooth athlete, and at the end of the night with the stat line, he had 25 points, several assists, several rebounds. So that lets you know the athleticism is there, but he did it in a very quiet fashion, and so that's a plus for him. It shows he can be calm in any situation, which it can be chaotic on the football field, but those attributes will come in handy playing college football.
A lot of what we've heard today, a lot of athleticism and a lot of multi-sport athletes, especially basketball. How does that translate to the defensive backfield on the football field?
The first thing is competing. You're always competing every play out there on the edge and in the back end. It's a lot of one-on-one matchups, which can happen on the basketball court as well, and just having to change direction suddenly, not knowing what's coming up next. You got to react, and the ball skills, having to get rebounds, make passes in the basketball realm, and just anticipating what may happen next, and those things carry over to the football field.
Another guy that we can talk about, he's actually already signed, he's already on campus here, so not necessarily a part of this class, but let's talk about Torrey Hunt. Came from the Naval Academy. Talk a little bit about what he brings and what he can do this spring for you guys.
Correct. Known Torrey for a couple of years, recruited him when I was at Southern Illinois. Didn't get him, went to the Naval Academy, so it came back around to where we crossed paths again, so familiar with him. He was actually a receiver in high school, and when I saw him at a camp years ago, threw him on defense and had a natural feel for it, so I think he will be able to grow into the position and help give us some depth right away. And a lot like Jordan. He possesses a lot of just good overall athleticism, was a track athlete as well. So he's competed in a lot of different fronts. And so, and again, the ball skills is what you look for, and he definitely has those.
What about that connection stood out to you? Obviously, you're familiar with him from your previous institutions. Why do you think that, he decided to make, that leap to come to Grand Forks from his previous place?
Just built a relationship with him and his family. His parents are military people, and so, had met the family, done a home visit, know where he comes from, and so we just had a good camaraderie there. And when I got the job to come up here, I told him, hey, we're coming up here together. It'll be new for you, it'll be new for me too, so we'll kind of experience the same things, and I think we connected on that level, and that's been good so far.
All right, Travis, thanks for the comments. We appreciate it. And next up, the head coach, Bubba Schweigert, will be joining us live here on UND Insider Weekly's Signing Day Live. Welcome back inside the UND High Performance Center here on the campus of University of North Dakota. This is Signing Day 2016, and you are watching UND Insider Weekly's Signing Day Live. I'm Matt Schill, joined by UND football head coach Bubba Schweigert. And Bubba, if you had one word overall to describe the 2016 commitment class, what would it be?
Well, I think they're a very athletic group, and basketball comes to mind. We've got a lot of guys that really excel on the basketball court, which means they're very good athletes, multi-sport athletes, and we're happy to welcome them to our family.
What about those multi-sport athletes do you like?
Well, a couple things. Shows us that they're very competitive, and I think there's a carryover from one sport to the next. But the big thing is they want to compete, and they love playing, and they are good teammates. You go out and observe them play other sports, you can really judge character and heart of a young man. A lot of times you'll look at a young man playing on the football field and you aren't as close to the action. So you go to a basketball game, you see get more of an inside look at, hey, when the game's tight, how do they handle the pressure situations? When the game's spread apart, are they the young man that's going to help lead the team back? When they're out in the head, do they stay focused? And then we have a couple wrestlers that we have recruited, and when you see them on the mat, do they fight? What kind of competitive spirit do they have? And one thing I like about sports like wrestling and baseball, when you can observe guys playing that, it's one-on-one at some point. Nobody to hide behind. It's you and the other guy, and it's just great to see those guys participate in a lot of sports.
One thing that the assistant coaches have mentioned is that there's a lot of athleticism. I know that's you kind of hear that a lot from time to time, but what about this class? It makes it that much more athletic than previous years.
Well, I think our guys did a really good job of identifying guys early in the process, way over a year ago, of guys when they were juniors in high school, and guys that we wanted to invite to our football camp. So we got a one-on-one opportunity with them, watch them run, watch them compete in our camp. And what stands out with this group is we've added some length to our defensive recruits. We just believe in the Big Sky that we really needed to get more athletic at the linebacker position. We need to be more athletic and deep in the secondary positions. If we look back, and we look forward a lot, but sometimes we got to look back to evaluate, we weren't deep enough in certain positions, so when we got nicked up, and it affected us a bit. Offensive line, another big year to bring in big numbers at the offensive line. We just need to create more depth. So when we are in those tough parts in the season, because injuries are going to be a part of it, and I know you'll hear several programs, next man up, next man up. Well, to have that approach, and we do have that approach, but you got to have depth in your program. So those were really factors that we really took a good hard look at, that we have to increase our numbers, and then you got to get good quality players to have good depth.
Talk a little bit about some of that depth for offensive line. You mentioned it, but a lot of guys, a lot of upper Midwest guys, a lot of athleticism, a lot of height and weight that looks like they can add some depth right away.
Yeah, and we look at potential in the offensive line. There's not going to be a whole lot of guys that come in and play right away, so you're projecting a bit. But Noah Mortel out of Luck, Wisconsin, 8-man football player, and we really think he has a big upside, and we really enjoyed getting to know him through the process. He comes from a good, solid family and with great work ethic, and that's important to us. You know, Ryan Tobin, another guy that we look at, plays baseball, that big body playing first base. You know, we real happy with him. Nate Nguyen, we got a chance to see him. He's got a really good work ethic in the weight room, and he's got really good strength. Bennett Helgren plays basketball. You know, so the list goes on, and you know, Devin Hunt, who's going to walk onto our program. Those guys are all special to us. Those walk-ons, they make a big difference to us. And you know, so offensive line, we you know, created a lot of depth with numbers, and you know, we got Russo, Sean Russo out of Denver, and all these guys, upper Midwest guys, come from families with really good work ethic, and we think they're really going to develop. And you know, I just can't say enough about our coaching staff getting out there and logging a lot of miles and developing good relationships with these young men, so they're committed and stay committed to the University of North Dakota football program.
In the defensive backfield, you have one guy that's already on campus, but certainly adding depth there and some length and size there at the corner and safety positions.
Yeah, it was very important to us. You know, Tim Ryan was in our camp, Jordan Kennedy was in our camp, and we just saw a lot of potential there. And Jordan's having a great basketball season, playing on the #1 ranked basketball team in Division II in Wisconsin, and just had a big game last week against one of their top opponents. And Tim, we think, is just a really hard-nosed football player. And then at corner, Andre Randolph, very good athlete, played quarterback for his high school team, and we think he's going to be an outstanding player. And then Evan Holm was really impressive in our camp, and also was impressive on his high school video, and really happy to add those guys. And then you throw in Jake Geyer from Andover, really talented, and you know, these guys were not just good on one side of the ball. They added a lot of special teams quality to their high school teams, and we expect our defensive back recruits to really add to our special teams, because it's such a huge part of the game. And Jake Geyer, mentioned him earlier, but made all kinds of plays at receiver, and we love those defensive players that their offensive coach put on offense, because it tells us and sends a strong signal to our staff what their high school coach thinks of them. They need to touch the ball. That means it's one of their better players. And you know, we just, once again, develop good relationships, and we're happy to have those young men in our program.
A couple positions where maybe you didn't go quite as heavy. I mean, defensive line didn't bring anyone in. Quarterback, there was one running back and a fullback. Any thought process behind some of those?
Yeah, it's all a numbers game, where you feel you need to put your scholarships that you have available to offer, and we just felt that it was a year that we really need to bolster at linebacker, defensive back, and offensive line. Those were the three, and tight end. Those were the four areas, I'm sorry, that we identified, and we're happy with Ben Belinsky at quarterback. He's committed to walk on here, and once again, he's a three-sport athlete, and really impressive on the basketball floor, his leadership, and there's so many intangibles that Ben will bring that we're excited about. Brett Finke is a fullback that we think is a hard-nosed football player, and we're excited to have him on the roster, and think he'll bring a real toughness to that position. So, you know, you just got to make your choices. Last year was a big year for defensive line, and we added guys to that position, and we're happy with those guys, the way they're progressing throughout this season and throughout the fall. So we backed off there and put our time and effort towards other positions.
How about offensive skill positions? You mentioned tight end, wide receiver. Anyone that you see can make an impact right away? I mean, you guys had Santiago and Oliveira last year. I mean, do you see that their sort of skill positions this year?
Yeah, we're really in the minds of all those guys coming in and saying, hey, you got to report this summer and fall camp and be with the mindset that you're going to play this fall. You know, we think they have a lot of talent. Alex Cloyd out of Millard South in Nebraska, right outside of Omaha. Really, we're looking forward to getting him here. He's talented. He's having an excellent wrestling season, so he's got great strength, and really was athletic in our camp, and he'll be one of those tight ends that we think can not only develop into a physical blocker, but can stretch the field with his athleticism. And then Hunter Pinckey, 9-man player out of North Dakota. He's from my home area, so there's a special place for him in my heart, no doubt. Actually, just last night, he was playing in the gym that I grew up in down in my hometown, and we just think he's going to really develop when he gets to focus on football year-round, and he's got some UND ties. You know, his mother was a track and field athlete here. His grandpa, Fred Lukens, played basketball here, and just his upside is just really what we're excited about. And then at receiver, we're very excited about the 2 receivers, the leading receiver out of the state of Minnesota, Travis Toivonen, once again on the #1 ranked team in basketball, and he's an excellent basketball player, and he's got really good length and did a good job in our camp. And then Noah Wanzik, another receiver, a big receiver out of North Dakota, right out of Jamestown, that we think can really add some depth and really some matchup difficulties as we move through the Big Sky.
We have a question here from a fan on our UNDsports.com. They saw a tweet with a gray North Dakota helmet in a locker room during recruiting weekend. Is getting gray uniforms and helmets, is that something in the future, or is that something, you know, want to talk about, we can talk about yet?
Well, we'll see where that goes. You know, at this day and age with recruiting and, you know, strumming up interest in your program, you do things like that. I know I'm on Twitter. That's something that
you're a pretty good tweeter too.
Not bad. I'm getting better. My goal is to go by Coach Freund and followers today. So anybody listening that needs to follow me, that's my goal today. So
it's at Bubba Schweigert, correct?
Yeah. So, but those things are important. We'll take a look at it. You know, someday, you know, that would be special to me to get the silver gray helmet back in the program as something we could do to show the alumni that we're thinking about them. The first games that I saw here at the University of North Dakota in the 70s over at Memorial Stadium, silver gray pants, silver gray helmet. And it's something that I've always thought of that would be neat for us to do. I think our current players would like it, and I sure know our alumni and followers, it would be special to them if we could get to that at some point.
You love the traditional look, and that would certainly fit in with that. Let's talk about one other thing. This building that we're in, the High Performance Center, we've talked about it a lot today and, you know, over the last few months, but how big of an impact did this building make in your recruiting season?
I think it played a big role. You know, some of our first commits this summer got into this building before the track and the turf were down, and they were very impressed with the look of the building. And then when they came back for their official visits in December and January, just with the track and the turf down, just a completely different feel to the building. It shows that our administration and our supporters are really behind taking football to the next level, and we use it as a big selling point, and because it not only helps in recruiting, but our player development is going to change tremendously here because of this facility, and we're looking forward to getting the most out of this facility. We are already with our early morning workouts here in the winter time, because we got a belief here, you know, you're going to win the games in the fall, but the championships are won in the winter, spring, and the summer, and this building really becomes a year-round facility that can help us get to that point.
A few other notes before we close out. Tickets for next year's season tickets are on sale. Certainly having a great home fan base is a key for you next season, isn't it?
Well, it sure is, and not only is it key during our season, but you know, taking our potential players and our recruits over to hockey at the Ralph and basketball at the Betty, and those families see the passion that our fans have for UND and UND athletics, and then in the fall when we get them into the Alaris Center, and it just leaves a huge impact on our recruits and their families, and they see the fun and the excitement in the building, and that's our goal. We really need to have that building filled up at the Potato Bowl when South Dakota comes to town this fall.
And you can purchase tickets at UNDsports.com/tickets or call Paul Adaman in the UND ticket office. Tonight is the signing day party. That's at the Alaris. That starts at 5:30. And Bubba, usually you have a pretty good story or two. Any good teaser bits that we can hear today on our live programs to entice more people to come tonight? Yeah,
I think you're going to hear about maybe some visits, maybe some travel days from some coaches. Our guys log a lot of miles, so hopefully there's some good stories about maybe meeting a family or where we had to meet and what we had to do to get there, and down the stretch you're recruiting commits like they're not committed, and that's a great part of this process, just developing those relationships so you keep guys committed to your program. You know, we see a lot that guys are flipping and this and that, but we just had such strong relationships built with the families and the prospect, and I think that's an important aspect that our guys did a really good job of this year.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us. And fans, thank you for watching our UND Insider Weekly Signing Day Live. We'll see you tonight at the Allaire Center as the Signing Day fun continues later on tonight. Thanks and have a great day.